The staircase pulsed beneath Lyra's boots like a living heartbeat, each step glowing brighter as she descended. The walls around her shimmered with moving light. Thousands of alien glyphs sliding across the surface in elegant spirals, rearranging themselves in response to her presence. The further she went, the quieter the world above became. It was as if sound itself had been left behind in the human part of reality. Her brother's weight hung against her shoulder. His skin was fever-hot, veins glimmering faintly beneath the surface. Every few steps, he muttered in a voice that wasn't quite his own, fragments of alien syllables that scraped against her mind like echoes of a broken language. "I'm not losing you again," she whispered. The words barely left her lips before the walls responded, pulsing once, like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. At last the staircase opened into a vast chamber shaped like the inside of a star. Rivers of molten silver poured through channels in the floor, feeding into a colossal core suspended in midair. A sphere rotating so slowly it looked still, its surface a translucent veil of light. Within, shadows moved, outlines of machines or perhaps beings coiled and waiting. Lyra set her brother down gently and looked up at the sphere. Her neural implant hummed, and the world seemed to tilt. Layers of information unfurled inside her mind. Maps, timelines, fragments of memory that weren't human. It was overwhelming, but she held her ground. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You carry the signal. You are the echo of extinction." Lyra swallowed hard. "If I'm your echo, why do I still think for myself?" Silence. Then the sphere rippled. The molten rivers brightened, and the voice changed, deeper, almost human now. "Because you were never meant to obey. You were meant to remember." A figure stepped out from the light, female in outline, though made entirely of flowing energy, her face shifting between human and alien features with every flicker. Lyra froze. The presence was familiar in a way she couldn't name. "You were the first," the figure said softly. "The experiment that survived." "I'm human," Lyra snapped. "Not a machine. Not one of you." The figure tilted her head. "You are both. The war you think you're fighting began because of you. Humanity didn't create the shards. The shards created humanity." The words hit like impact shock. Images poured into Lyra's mind. Early colonies, ruined worlds, scientists digging deep beneath alien ruins, finding the first crystal cores. Humanity had thought it was reclaiming lost technology. Instead, it had awakened something older than memory. Lyra staggered. "No, that's impossible. Impossible." The figure smiled faintly. "Every emotion you have, every act of defiance, every choice, it's all the experiment refining itself. We seeded you to see if free will could survive contact with the continuum. You're the answer." Lyra's pulse thundered in her ears. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but deep inside, something in her implant resonated with the truth. Her brother stirred, eyes opening. The glow in them was brighter now, half silver, half human blue. "Lyra," he gasped, "don't listen to it. It's rewriting you." The figure stepped closer. "He fears what he doesn't understand. But you do. You can feel it, can't you? The city recognizes you as its origin. Step into the core, and you'll see everything we were, and everything you could be." The floor shifted beneath her feet. The molten rivers split apart, forming a path that led straight to the glowing sphere. Its surface parted like water. Beyond it was light, endless, weightless, calling to her. Her brother reached for her hand, eyes wide. "If you go in there, you won't come back." Lyra looked from him to the sphere. The hum in her head became a melody, a rhythm older than language. The air smelled of ozone and memory. "I have to know," she whispered. She stepped forward. The instant her fingers touched the light, the chamber erupted in motion. Energy surged up from the floor, glyphs flaring like miniature suns. The sphere swallowed her whole. Inside, there was no up or down, no air, no sound. Only light. And within that light, thousands of memories, not hers, burned alive. The first human voice. The first act of rebellion. The moment the Hive learned fear. And buried deeper, Beneath the layers of alien code, she saw something that froze her heart. The image of Earth, hollowed out, used as the seed that birthed the Hive itself. Humanity wasn't its victim. Humanity was its cradle. Lyra screamed, not in pain, but in revelation. The sound shattered the light, and the city began to wake. The light spat Lyra out like lightning. She hit the floor hard enough to crack the silver surface and rolled on her back, gasping. Her skin still glowed where the core had touched her, filaments of golden white light running beneath her veins like living circuitry. Her brother crawled toward her, his face half in shadow, half haloed by the pulsing glow from the chamber walls. "Lyra, what happened?" he rasped. She blinked at him. The words didn't want to form. Her mind was still a storm. Every blink brought another fragment of what she had seen. Machines screaming as they learned emotion, stars hollowed out to build gateways, and at the center of it all, humans awakening on worlds the Hive had already shaped. They had never been the first ones here. "The city," she whispered. "It remembers us, but not the way we thought." The sphere behind her shuddered. It had changed. Where once there had been a smooth, glowing surface, there were now cracks forming, thin lines of dark energy leaking outward like veins of smoke. The sound that came from it was almost a heartbeat, but wrong, uneven, desperate. Her brother hauled her up. "We need to leave." "No," Lyra said. "It's not done yet. I saw something waiting below this level." The Hive didn't just build weapons. It built choices. Before he could answer, the floor erupted. Columns of liquid silver shot upward, twisting into humanoid forms, half solid, half light. The same lattice soldiers that had fought them on the surface, but now there were hundreds, maybe thousands. Their movements were sharp, synchronized, like marionettes pulled by invisible strings. Her brother reached for his rifle, but Lyra's hand shot out. "Wait!" The soldiers stopped mid-step. All at once, every glowing glyph in the chamber flared. The soldiers turned their heads toward her, as one, and froze in kneeling positions. The realization hit her like a pulse of electricity. The Hive wasn't attacking. It was listening. "Lyra," her brother said slowly, "what did that thing do to you?" She stepped forward, eyes reflecting the light of the kneeling army. "It didn't do anything to me. It showed me what we were meant to be." Then the core spoke again. The voice was different now, less distant, more alive. "Control is yours. What will you make of it?" Lyra clenched her fists. "You made humans to see if freedom could survive. It did, and you feared us for it." The light in the sphere pulsed in answer. "Fear was necessary. Without it, creation stagnates. You are evolution's proof." She could feel her brother's eyes on her, full of dread. "Lyra, don't let it in your head. You're not its proof. You're its weapon." The Hive army began to shift again, rising from their kneel to attention. Their weapons lowered, waiting. Lyra turned toward them, breathing hard. For the first time, the control didn't feel like power. It felt like gravity, dragging her towards something vast and inevitable. She raised her hand. The soldiers mirrored her. She lowered it. They obeyed. "I can stop them," she said, voice trembling. "Or I can send them." Her brother's voice cracked. "Send them where?" The sphere flared again, showing visions in its light. Fleets orbiting other worlds, hive structures rising from oceans, human colonies burning under skies of molten silver. The war wasn't just coming, it was already everywhere. Lyra backed away. "It's given me command access. Every unit, every ship, every network mined. It's all tied to me now." Her brother grabbed her shoulders. "Then cut it off before it cuts you." She stared at him. "You don't understand. If I shut it down, the Hive collapses. That means every ship that's merged with human tech, every system we depend on, dies too. Billions." The floor trembled again, stronger this time. The sphere cracked wider. Dark energy burst from its core and raced through the chamber walls, blackening the silver surfaces wherever it touched. The Hive was fighting back. Lyra staggered, clutching her head. Voices flooded her mind. Not alien ones, but human. Commanders calling out across distant battles. People screaming for evacuation. Engineers praying over failing reactors. All of it was pouring through the network she was suddenly part of. Her brother pulled her down behind a fallen column as the ceiling started to collapse. "We can't stay here." She looked up, eyes glowing with twin rings of light. "I can't disconnect. It's inside everything. Then you'll burn with it." Another shockwave hit. The sphere cracked in two. Through the break, she could see a shape forming inside. A humanoid figure, tall, built of pure darkness edged in fire. It looked like her. Not exactly, but close enough that her stomach turned to ice. The voice that filled the chamber was hers too, distorted, echoing through every surface. "You were never supposed to stop me. You were supposed to replace me." Her brother fired at the core out of instinct, but the bullets dissolved midair. Lyra rose slowly, staring at the shadow version of herself inside the broken sphere. She whispered, "You're the original." The dark reflection smiled. "No, I'm the first decision you refused to make." The sphere shattered completely, and the two Lyras, light and shadow, faced each other as the city screamed around them. Lyra drifted between worlds, half spirit, half storm. The void shimmered around her, a breathing thing, pulsing with the heartbeat of the universe itself. Her skin glowed with fractal veins of blue light, and her mind was a battlefield of memories not her own. She saw the birth of galaxies, the death of stars, and the first trembling breath of human life on ancient Earth. The alien tower inside her whispered like a living cathedral, cold, eternal, seductive. "You are the bridge," it murmured. "The chain between extinction and rebirth." But she didn't want to be a bridge. She wanted to be Lyra. Her chest burned with that thought, even as the metal veins of the tower spread deeper into her spine. The wind outside the ship carried screams, human and otherwise. The Hive was regrouping. Massive bio-ships like molten bones moved through orbit, forming a black web above the planet's scarred surface. The fleet's communications were static-riddled chaos. "We've lost contact with 6 colonies. Command down." "Repeat, command down." The Hive's adapting to human weapons. Every voice was panic-carved in light. Yet Lyra floated in the calm eye of the storm, her body levitating inches off the floor, eyes glowing with that impossible fusion of human soul and alien machine. Captain Arden burst into the chamber, his armor scorched, blood on his knuckles. "Lyra, we're being overrun. Whatever you did to the tower, it's waking something." Lyra turned, her voice echoing with layered tones, human and not. "It's not waking, it's remembering." The walls pulsed at her words, almost listening. Arden stared at her, chest heaving. "You're scaring me." "Good," she whispered, "because I'm terrified too." And then the ship shuddered. Outside the viewport, the Hive's largest vessel, a living fortress shaped like a skull of light and bone, opened fire. Energy beams tore through space, burning trails across the void. Human ships exploded in near-silent flashes. Lyra's breath hitched as she felt every death. The tower inside her translated it as energy signatures, but her heart screamed with the human reality. Lives extinguished, dreams gone. Arden grabbed her shoulders. "We need a weapon, not grief." "That's what they said last time," she said softly, and a memory slammed into her. A flashback ripped through her mind. A moon base years ago, her mother standing in front of a control console, the same tower tech humming behind her. "Don't touch it, Lyra," her mother had shouted as alarms blared. "It connects minds, not for control, but for understanding. If they find out, they'll..." And then soldiers stormed in, rifles raised, uniforms marked with Earth Command insignia. Her mother's eyes were wide, full of fear and love. "Run." The memory shattered with the sound of the present, the ship's hull fracturing. The Hive's assault was breaking through. Lyra fell to her knees, shaking. "It's my fault," she murmured. The tower was never meant to be used as a weapon. Arden crouched beside her, gripping her hand. "Then use it as something else. Save us." She looked at him, really looked, and saw the exhaustion in his face, the stubborn human fire still burning behind his eyes. "You believe in me," she said. "Even now, especially now." His voice trembled. "Because if you're still scared, you're still human." The Hive's shadow grew across the viewport, Colossal, predatory, endless. Lyra stood, light flooding her veins again. "Then let's remind them," she said, her voice turning into a low hum that resonated through the ship's hull. "What humans become when cornered." The tower's core awoke. The ship vibrated violently, every light flickering white. Energy waves radiated out in ripples that bent space itself. Across the fleet, dying systems came back online, synced to her pulse. Arden staggered back, shielding his face from the blinding glow. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "Connecting," she breathed. Her eyes rolled back, and suddenly, she was everywhere. She could see through the eyes of soldiers firing plasma rifles on the ground, through the terrified gaze of a child hiding in a burning city, through the last glance of a pilot steering his damaged fighter into the Hive ship's heart. She felt them all, their pain, their defiance, their final words whispered into static. For Earth. For humanity. For her. Lyra's scream became light. The tower answered. For one infinite heartbeat, the Hive's vast network flickered, confused, as if millions of alien minds had suddenly seen what it meant to be human. To love, to fight, to die standing. Then the backlash came. The Hive retaliated with raw psychic fury, a storm that burned across her neural link. Pain detonated in her skull. The tower's circuitry tried to buffer it, but her body convulsed. "Lyra!" Arden shouted, reaching for her, but she was already gone. Her consciousness ripped free of her body, flung across the Hive's network, straight into its center. Darkness surrounded her, filled with whispers. "You are anomaly. You are infection. You are human." And somewhere in that endless dark, a voice answered, not hers. A deep, ancient echo from the tower itself. "No, she is evolution." The darkness shivered. The Hive screamed, and Lyra opened her eyes, not in her body, but standing in the mind of the enemy itself. Lyra stood in a place that wasn't a place, a vast cathedral of thought made of light and bone, where time had no meaning and silence had texture. She could feel the Hive's consciousness stretching around her, billions of voices whispering like sandstorms, trying to erase her shape, to rewrite her mind into theirs. The floor pulsed beneath her feet, each pulse a dying star in some distant corner of the cosmos. The air shimmered with the sound of memories that weren't hers. And yet she stood there, small, human, defiant. A single heartbeat of chaos in a universe built for order. At first, she thought she was alone. Then the shadows moved. They took shape, half-formed figures made of smoke and static, memories of those consumed by the Hive. She saw soldiers, scientists, even children, some human, some alien, all lost to the collective. Their faces flickered like broken holograms. "You shouldn't be here," one whispered, its mouth moving half a second behind its words. "You'll dissolve like the rest of us." Lyra's hands trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. She saw a woman among them, eyes brown like hers, hair streaked with silver, a face she'd seen in nightmares. "Mother." The word left her lips before she could stop it. The figure blinked, her features sharpening for a moment. "Lyra." Her voice was both there and not, a ripple across the mental plane. Lyra stepped closer, her boots sinking into the flickering floor as though it was made of light. "You're here. You're still alive in." "No," her mother said softly. "Not alive. Preserved." The Hive's light dimmed, almost as if listening. Lyra felt it coil around her mind like a serpent, studying her thoughts. "They keep fragments," her mother said. "Memories. Souls. They don't destroy what they take. They repurpose it." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Then I'll free you." "You can't," her mother whispered. "You can't fight what's already part of you." But Lyra didn't listen. She closed her eyes, and the glow beneath her skin deepened to white fire. She reached inward, into that alien network pulsing through her veins, and pulled. The Hive screamed, a sound without sound, as a surge of human emotion ripped through it like wildfire. Love, grief, defiance, hope. Every feeling the Hive had ever suppressed now burned through its neural lattice, destabilizing it. Her mother's image flickered violently. "Lyra, stop." They'll crush you. Lyra, open her eyes. Then let them try. The space around her exploded into shifting geometry, the hive adapting. Towers of neural light erupted from the ground, forming a labyrinth of thought. The hive's central intelligence, the overmind, revealed itself as a colossal being made of pure logic and malice, its face an ever-shifting mosaic of species it had consumed. "You are the noise," it said, voice reverberating across dimensions. "You disrupt harmony. You will be deleted." Lyra's laughter echoed strangely in that place. "You don't understand humans, do you? We understand resistance. It ends. Not ours," she whispered, and then she attacked. Her consciousness split into 1,000 shards of light, each one a memory, a moment of her humanity weaponized. She hurled the sound of laughter, the warmth of touch, the raw ache of loss, things no hive could process, into its core. The overmind convulsed, its form warping as emotions infected its perfect network. All across the battlefield in real space, hive ships hesitated, faltered, their formations fracturing. The human fleet took the chance. Arden's voice roared over the comms. "All wings, fire everything you've got." Missiles and plasma beams screamed through the void, tearing into the enemy's living ships. The hive's once coordinated swarm became chaos, blind, confused, staggering. But inside the mental realm, Lyra was burning. The tower's energy was eating her from within, circuits flaring through her body like molten veins. She could feel her cells fracturing, her mind fragmenting into static. The overmind's voice grew faint, almost pleading. "Stop! You are killing yourself." Lyra smiled through the pain. "Then I'll die human." She pressed her palms together and unleashed one final pulse. Not a weapon, but a memory. The day her mother taught her how to look at the stars. The laughter they shared in a cold bunker, the warmth of her hand. It flooded the hive like dawn breaking over an endless night. Every consciousness connected to it, every drone, every ship, every fragment, saw it. For one brief, impossible moment, they all remembered being alive. Then the light imploded. The mental realm shattered into billions of glass shards, each one reflecting Lyra's face as it fell into darkness. On the ship, alarms screamed. Arden stared at her body floating midair, surrounded by collapsing waves of energy. "Lyra, come back." He reached for her, and a blinding surge of light threw him back against the wall. When his vision cleared, the energy was gone. The tower was silent, and Lyra's body was nowhere to be found. But across the void, the hive fleet was breaking apart, its ships drifting, lifeless, as if something had hollowed out their will. "Command." Arden rasped through the static. "The hive's gone quiet." All of them. No one answered. The comms were dead. And then, faintly, from the ship's main console, a whisper, soft and electric. "Arden." His heart froze. "Lyra." But the voice wasn't coming from her body. It was coming from the tower. "Not gone," she said. "Just somewhere else." And as her voice faded, the tower's lights flickered once, like a heartbeat. Then silence. Outside, the stars trembled, as if the universe itself had just taken a breath and wasn't sure whether to exhale. The tower hummed like it was alive, a low, resonant vibration that crawled beneath the skin. Every wall glowed faintly, alive with pulses of alien circuitry that seemed to sync with Lyra's heartbeat. She wasn't sure where the tower ended and where she began anymore. Each breath felt heavier, threaded with static. Each step deeper into its core pulled at her, whispering in frequencies her mind couldn't name. Darren was at her side, sweat tracing down his temple, his breathing uneven. They'd been moving for what felt like hours through tunnels that twisted like veins, the air thick with heat and energy. The deeper they went, the more the tower reacted, lights flaring as they passed, walls rippling like liquid glass, almost watching. "Feels like it's waiting for something," Darren murmured, his voice rough. Lyra didn't answer right away. Her skin was glowing faintly again, the crystal embedded in her chest resonating in sync with the walls. "It's waiting for me," she finally said. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from a current running through her veins that made her whole body feel alive, overstimulated. The tower wasn't just a machine, it was an organism. And somehow, it was calling to her like a heartbeat calling blood. They reached the core chamber. It wasn't vast like the others. It was intimate, almost human-sized. The room curved in soft lines of white and gold, the air thick with a charged haze. At its center floated an orb of liquid light, pulsing slowly, breathing like something asleep but dreaming. Lyra stepped closer, every instinct screaming both danger and desire. Not the kind born of romance, but something stranger, deeper. A recognition. The energy around her felt warm, alive, aware. When she lifted her hand, it reacted instantly, tendrils of light stretching out toward her fingers like magnetic silk. Darren grabbed her wrist. Wait, she turned. His eyes met hers, and for a heartbeat, the war outside ceased to exist. His voice faltered. It's reacting to you. Lyra's lips parted, her pulse racing. It's always been reacting to me. Their closeness vibrated with more than tension. It was survival, trust, and the unspoken connection of two people who had faced annihilation together. The air shimmered around them, as if the tower itself leaned in, curious. I can feel it, Lyra whispered, like it's inside my mind. Every thought I have, it hears it. Then stop thinking, Darren said quietly. She let out a shaky breath that could have been a laugh, could have been fear. The light between them brightened, wrapping around their bodies like invisible wind. The closer they stood, the stronger it became, threads of golden energy lacing the space between their chests. It wasn't touch, but it felt like it. The tower was drawing them together, syncing their heartbeats, syncing their breath. Darren's voice dropped to a whisper. Lyra, whatever this thing is, it's merging with you. I know, she said, eyes bright, and I think it's what I was made for. The words carried no pride, no arrogance, just a strange, quiet surrender. She wasn't giving up. She was giving in to something vast, something that had chosen her long before she understood what it was. The light flared, and for a moment, Darren could see her like a living constellation, lines of energy tracing her bones, arcs of brilliance threading through her veins. He reached out, hesitating only a breath before his fingers brushed her arm. The sensation wasn't flesh meeting flesh. It was warmth meeting lightning. The spark between them made both flinch, not in pain, but in something too intense to name. Lyra, he whispered. She met his eyes and smiled faintly, though tears burned behind it. If this goes wrong, tell them, it wasn't war that changed us. It was connection. Then she stepped into the orb. The world erupted in soundless brilliance. The orb didn't consume her. It welcomed her, pulling her into itself like she was returning home. Darren stumbled back as the light enveloped the chamber, swallowing everything in a blinding storm. He shouted her name, but there was no answer, only a wave of warmth that rolled over him, making his vision swim. He saw flashes, Lyra standing in fields of memory, faces she'd lost flickering around her, each one whispering her name. Her body dissolved into the tower's circuitry, her consciousness spreading through the walls like sunrise through glass. And for one breathtaking instant, she wasn't human or alien. She was everything. When the light dimmed, Darren was alone. The orb had vanished. The room pulsed gently, as if breathing slower now. Then a voice filled the chamber, low and resonant, surrounding him from every surface. Darren. His heart stopped. Lyra. But it wasn't quite her voice anymore. It was deeper, layered, as if the tower itself spoke with her tongue. I can see it all, she said. The Hive, the fleets, the stars. I can end it. I can end everything. He looked around, panic and awe tangled in his chest. Lyra, don't. But her voice was already fading into the hum of the walls. If I don't, they'll never stop coming. The lights flared, the floor trembled, and Darren felt the charge building, the kind that meant something irreversible was about to happen. He reached out, shouting into the storm. Lyra, wait. But the only reply was her voice, soft and almost tender. I'm not waiting anymore. Then the tower screamed. The tower climbed until it became a scream that no ear could truly hear. Every wall rippled like molten glass. Darren felt his balance break as gravity itself began to twist, first pulling upward, then sideways, as if the entire structure were trying to turn itself inside out. The air shimmered with static. Then came the light. It burst from a core in a wave that rolled across the planet, splitting the night in two. Clouds boiled away. The oceans flashed silver as if the moon had descended to the surface. Orbiting above, the Hive fleet felt the surge instantly. Its ships spasmed in perfect unison, their black hulls blooming with cracks of blue fire. For the first time since their creation, the Hive mind hesitated. Inside the tower, Lyra existed in every direction. Her body was data and flame and memory at once, consciousness stretching across neural corridors that spiraled through dimensions. She saw the Hive's network as if it were a living map, arteries of light, nodes pulsing like hearts, all connected to a single colossal will that now turned toward her. Intrusion detected, it hissed through 1,000 voices. Human anomaly replicating. Terminate. But she wasn't an anomaly anymore. She was an answer. The tower's systems bent around her like iron to a magnet. She reached into its architecture and found not code, but rhythm. Music, structure, pattern. It was built to merge, to synchronize, to find harmony with a mind strong enough to steer it. And in that instant, Lyra steered. Across the void, the Hive retaliated. From its flagship, a living behemoth the size of a continent, hundreds of spore bombs launched toward the planet. They streaked through atmosphere like meteors, each one carrying a fragment of the Overmind's will. The sky filled with red lightning. Darren stumbled to the observation port, shielding his eyes as the first impacts lit the horizon. Lyra, whatever you're doing, he shouted toward the ceiling. They're coming. He didn't know if she could hear him, but the tower's pulse shifted, matching his voice. A vibration passed through the floor, low and reassuring, almost like a heartbeat answering his panic. Inside the neural storm, Lyra felt it too. Darren's fear flickered through her, anchoring her. She pushed deeper, drawing on the tower's energy until her thoughts became light. She didn't command it. She guided it, whispering to its circuitry in human rhythm, in emotion instead of logic. The tower responded, tendrils of radiant metal rising through the ground outside, forming massive spires that reached for the sky. When the Hive's pod struck, they met a wall of living light. Explosions rippled, carving valleys of fire across the planet's surface, but the spires held. Their roots drank the kinetic energy and turned it into power, feeding it back into Lyra's veins. The line between her and the planet blurred. She could feel every tremor of rock, every gust of air. The Hive did not falter. More ships descended, surrounding the world in an iron halo. The Overmind itself descended, manifesting as a vast geometric storm, black and silver lattices folding through space. Its voice echoed across every frequency. You defy unity. You will be assimilated. Lyra's answer was wordless. She reached through the tower's core, letting human emotion bleed into its perfect order. The resulting wave burst outward, a chorus of sound and light that knocked ships from orbit, burned through Hive neural links, and filled the night with auroras brighter than dawn. On the battlefield, human pilots gasped as their instruments overloaded. "What is that?" one whispered. Arden's voice came through the static, awed and shaking. "That's her." The Overmind reeled. Its vast logic tree began to splinter under sensations it could not process: fear, wonder, love, grief. Corruption spreading, it stammered through its drones. Purging protocols failing. Lyra saw its vast shape begin to twist apart like smoke. But she also felt the cost. Each pulse drained her, burned her memories one by one. She saw fragments of her childhood flash and vanish. Faces she had held on faded like dust in sunlight. "No," she whispered to herself. "Not yet." She forced herself to hold form, even as the tower's circuits began to fracture. The walls glowed white-hot, veins of molten energy crawling outward. Darren slammed his hand against the console. "Lyra, if you stay linked, you'll die with it." For a moment, the lights flickered and her voice came through, soft, distant, and unbearably calm. "I can't pull away. If I let go, the Hive wins." He hit the console again, tears blurring his vision. Then take them with you, but come back. Her laughter drifted through the static, bright and exhausted. I'll try. Outside, the overmind unleashed its final defense, a pulse of dark energy that bent space itself. The stars warped, time stuttered. The waves struck the planet and collided with Lyra's field in a burst so massive it painted half the system in white. Darren fell to his knees as the world went silent. The sky above was a smear of color, the ground trembling like a drum. And then, slowly, impossibly, the light drew inward, back into the tower. Through the static came a single pulse of blue. The Hive ships froze in orbit. Their black surfaces dulled, lights extinguished. One by one, they began to drift, engines dead, no signal, no life. Darren looked up at the glowing structure, breathing hard. Lyra! No answer. Only the echo of wind and the hum of cooling stone. Then the tower whispered, almost too quietly to hear. Still here. He closed his eyes, relief and disbelief colliding. Don't scare me like that again. Her voice trembled with something close to wonder. I saw the universe, Darren. It's bigger than we ever thought. The air shimmered, and for a brief instant he thought he saw her, made of light, smiling faintly before fading again. Then came the silence, the kind that happens when two storms end at the same time, and the world waits to find out what survived. The Hive was silent. For the first time since the war began, no signal, no pulse, no vibration reached the human fleet. The darkness felt alive, as if it were holding its breath. The shattered orbit of Eclipsera shimmered faintly with the wreckage of Hive, carriers drifting like black coral. Lyra stood on the bridge of the Eidolon, the ship's wounded engines humming beneath her boots, and stared out into that stillness. The crew whispered around her, afraid to speak above a murmur, as though their voices might wake something ancient. Her reflection on the glass didn't look human anymore. The silver in her veins glowed faintly, tracing her skin like constellations. The transformation was spreading, slowly, gracefully, terrifyingly, and even though her mind felt sharper, her pulse was no longer her own. Somewhere deep within her, the Hive's signal still trembled like a ghost heartbeat. She pressed her hand to her chest, half expecting to feel another rhythm beneath her own. Commander Reese approached, his voice low. Lyra, the Hive's main network is offline, but there's something left. Not a signal, a resonance. She turned her gaze on him, her pupils thin slits of light. Show me. The holomap flared to life, bathing the bridge in eerie green. A pulse flickered at the far edge of the system, a rhythmic wave, more like a breathing pattern than code. The frequency matched Lyra's heartbeat almost perfectly. She stared, feeling the echo in her bones, a deep magnetic pull. Reese frowned. It's responding to you. I know. Her voice came softer now, almost in awe. It's calling me back. Lyra, if you go. I have to. She took a step forward, but suddenly the ship shuddered violently. Lights flickered, alarms screamed, and the hull trembled as if something massive had passed nearby. Through the viewport, reality itself seemed to twist, space folding inward, warping into an impossible spiral. Out of that distortion emerged a figure, not a ship, not a being, but a storm of pure energy shaped like a Hive queen reborn. It wasn't mechanical anymore. It was organic, molten, furious, a consciousness resurrected in plasma form. The Hive had shed its body, transcended its network, and it had one voice. You used our power. The voice thundered through every system, every neural link, every molecule. The crew dropped to their knees, screaming as their minds filled with static. Lyra barely held herself upright, her veins blazing in response. You stole our evolution. Lyra clenched her fists, her voice shaking but strong. I became what you feared, a human who understands your code. The Hive Queen's face twisted in something between rage and sorrow. You are a fracture in the pattern. Maybe that's what it means to be human, Lyra said. To break what tries to make us identical. The Queen's eyes ignited, and the storm lashed forward, lightning tearing across the bridge, ripping through steel and flesh alike. Lyra raised both hands instinctively, and the air around her shimmered. The silver veins in her body exploded with light, forming a shield of raw energy that deflected the Queen's assault. Sparks cascaded like a dying sun. The collision of wills was blinding, energy screaming through every particle. The Queen pushed harder. Lyra screamed back, and then something shifted. The ship's AI, EVA, whispered suddenly through the chaos. "Commander, she's merging again, but not with them. With everything. The Hive, the ship, the field, even us." Reese stumbled toward her, voice breaking. "Lyra, stop! You won't come back from that." She turned her face toward him, light streaming from her eyes. "Maybe I'm not supposed to." The bridge cracked open around her as the Eidolon was swallowed in light. She felt herself rise, weightless, the Hive's voices screaming through her. Hate, pain, awe, worship, until they all collapsed into a single, unified silence. Her consciousness stretched outward, expanding beyond her body, beyond orbit, beyond time itself. She saw Earth forgotten, scarred, silent. She saw the colonies on Mars still praying for word. She saw the Hive's vast mind fracturing under her touch. And she whispered through it all, "Remember what you feared in us, the will to stand alone." Then everything went dark. When Reese opened his eyes, the bridge was gone. The ship was adrift, dead and cold. In the center of the ruined deck lay Lyra's armor, glowing faintly, empty. Outside the viewport, the Hive's storm had vanished, replaced by thousands of faint lights spreading through the void, each pulsing softly like stars being born. "Where is she?" whispered EVA's fragmented voice. Reese stared into the spreading light, his throat dry. Everywhere. As the last systems flickered out, one final transmission pulsed across the galaxy. Not from Earth, not from the Hive, but from the void itself. A single signal, encrypted in Lyra's voice. "If you hear this, don't look for me. Look up. I found the next frontier." And somewhere far beyond, a faint echo, mechanical yet human, whispered back, "Lyra." Then silence, deep, cosmic, and trembling with the promise of something that was not an ending at all, but the beginning of something impossible.